Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. I should explain my absence. We had a very strange thing happen here with our internet, and that is it wasn't working from the pole. Nothing wrong with anything in my home, and it took them some 4 days to fix it. And during that time, we have no internet here other than my phone Wi-Fi hotspot, which my children and I blew through in less than 1 day. You know, so that will explain my absence. Of course, people are joking that maybe Linda Moulton Howe sent her government friends to cut my internet line so I would shut up about her and her fake alien pictures. Part of me would like to believe that's true, but I don't think I'm that important in the grand scheme of things. Something weird with the line, though, and it took two technicians. The first technician couldn't fix it at all and had to schedule like a tier 2 technician to come who identified the problem, fixed it right away. Anyway, here we are. We are back on track and ready to attack, my friends. Yes. And I got to say that I hate that loss. The internet service company doesn't care that I just lost 3 or 4 days worth of work and shows that I could have done. We were locked and loaded. So today's show is really Monday's show. And we're going to see what we could do to try to catch up because I've got an awful lot of information to share and we will be getting into it. So tonight we will be discussing, of course, one of my favorite subjects that I have recently revisited due to the constant reminders of these things, and that would be disinformation and UFOs. Why is there so much disinformation in the world of UFOs? Why is it that there is just so much of it? So much of the information that people are peddling around is provably fake. And there are hoaxers and UFO huckstering profiteers. And there are verifiably government disinformation agents injecting themselves into the conversation and trying to manipulate perceptions, manipulate the data or information being shared. We have seen several people be masterful at this. Now, there are many who believe that this is all related to a CIA disinformation psyop. I'm not sure what it is that I think about that, but there is substantial and supportive evidence to prove that the government has employed paid disinformation agents to infiltrate the UFO community and spread whatever information they wanted the UFO community to know or talk about or be sharing. That's very concerning because, I don't remember hearing examples of the government paying disinformation agents to infiltrate other strange subcultures. You don't see disinformation agents at Dungeons and Dragons conferences that came there at the behest of the government and paid by the government, right? You don't see them at cosplay conventions or, I don't know, Star Wars conventions. You only see paid government disinformation agents at UFO conferences and infiltrating into the UFO community. I think that's very concerning. And for those that think that I've got my tinfoil hat on a little too tight tonight, we'll be getting into the fact that there is substantial and supportive, uncontrovertible proof that the government has paid disinformation agents to infiltrate into this world, strange world of UFOs. So I thought we would begin tonight sort of while it is still fresh. Let's begin with the majority. I should say this first. The majority of these disinformation agents that we'll be discussing tonight may or may not have government ties, may or may not be getting paid by the government. Some people believe that some of the people we'll be discussing tonight are for sure getting paid by the government because they are literally committing federal crimes and no one ever arrests them for it. There are UFO profiteering hucksters that are literally committing consumer fraud every time they stand up in front of a UFO conference and make claims that are verifiably, provably false. Why is it that some of these UFO hucksters can literally get away with federal crimes? Now, myself and a few others have contemplated, suggested, some would say speculated, that the reason that some of these UFO profiteering hucksters can get away with so many scams is because they are useful idiots to this CIA or government psyop that has infiltrated the UFO community, and that they get a pass. It's kind of like, go and read some books on the witness protection program. Do you know how many former mob people got into the witness protection program and then committed crimes after they were already in the witness protection program? Now, were they prosecuted for those crimes? No, because those people were informants and they were useful idiots to the government trying to prosecute La Cosa Nostra, the United States Mafia. So we can see time and time again, again, some people think that I've got my tinfoil hat on too tight when I talk about these things, but I don't think so, because I can display to you chapter and verse with examples of times that the government has let people commit crimes and given them a pass because they were doing something for the government. And this, of course, is the basis for several people's belief, including mine, about why some of these UFO hucksters can literally get away with consumer fraud that they commit on a regular basis, and nobody prosecutes them, nobody arrests them. They don't have consequences. The only consequences they have are money, right? And I just don't know, but I don't even know how to express to you how strong my belief is that some of these UFO profiteering hucksters are getting a pass from the United States government. And we will be pressing government officials in the coming months with specific examples and cases of these UFO profiteering hucksters committing outright consumer fraud and not being prosecuted. And we're going to want on the record statements from those government representatives. I've been told by a former prosecutor that I need to contact the police and the prosecutor in the jurisdiction that each of these people will be investigating and pressing for comment about live. Now, just to be clear, tonight we'll be talking in general terms. And just because I'm discussing a person tonight doesn't mean that I'm suggesting they're committing crimes, though some of them may be. Just a legal thing. This is an opinion piece tonight. And not all of these people certainly are guilty of crimes. It depends really how you look at it. But in any case, for legal reasons, I have to say that some of these people are just pathological liars that happen to profit from it. Maybe that's a better term than criminal. Some of these people are profiteering hucksters that don't care if what they're doing is wrong from either a moral, an ethical, or a legal perspective. And some of them certainly are paid by the government. We have at least one case tonight we'll be discussing that even the disinformation agent himself admitted that the government paid him to disinform people in the UFO community, give them false information. So let's get into it, friends. We'll begin tonight with our most recent investigation, the object of our most recent investigation, and that would be Linda Moulton Howe, also known by some people as Linda Moulton Howdy Doody, because she's a clown, and her information, or so-called information, is laughably false, provably false, and in many cases, it can be proven that she knew it was false, but she ran with it anyway. We have seen two specific examples of what I believe to be outright consumer fraud, where she showed everybody a picture that actually came from a 2005 video game cover called Area 51 and told everybody that she had a secret source that told her that was a real alien picture taken on the moon on a secret moon mission. Well, that whole story fell apart, but not before she made thousands and thousands of dollars huckstering that fake story. Now, more recently, we caught her using fake alien pictures that came from a Brazilian artist. And of course, that whole story fell apart. But again, this is how the Cosmic Con shuffle works. You throw out the hoax, you make the money, and then when the story starts falling apart, you shuffle away. Linda Moulton Howe suddenly decided right after this story that we busted her on, using those fake pictures, came crashing down around her, in large part thanks to our investigatory work and our analysis and our talking to the original artist who made those fake alien pictures. Her story completely fell apart around her. Suddenly, Linda Moulton Howe decides that she needs to take a break for a while. They all do this, friends. It's called the Cosmic Con Shuffle. Get the money with your fake story, perpetrate the hoax. When the story starts falling apart, you got to shuffle away and you got to take a break for a while so that the heat from you being caught with 100% fake story dies down, and then you come back with new garbage. It's also important to note that Linda Moulton Howe was the victim of a United States government disinformation campaign. Richard Doty has admitted that he called Linda Moulton Howe into an Air Force office and gave her information about UFOs. Now, Richard Doty claims some of it was real information, but some of it, of course, was disinformation that we wanted to see if she would spread throughout the UFO community. Linda Moulton Howe didn't know, care, or anything about looking into this information. She was shared by a known government disinformation agent. She ran with that information. This, my friends, is how useful idiots like Linda Moulton Howe spreads government-sponsored disinformation. We can verifiably prove that Richard Doty worked for the United States government. He has admitted himself that he infiltrated the UFO community, that he became quite friendly with many of the personalities in the UFO community, and that he personally gave them false information to share to see what would happen in some cases, or perhaps one can speculate that the government wanted him sharing this false information and flooding the UFO community with fake information. These red herrings, people would run around chasing the red herring and not spend time on the real mystery. This, of course, is classic misdirection, a principle of conjuring or magic that I am very familiar with. Look here, don't look over here. These government agents and their useful idiots like Linda Moulton Howe misdirect the UFO community to look down the wrong paths in order to keep them from looking down the right paths. Now, Linda Moulton Howe has been caught many, many times with fake information. There was the Antarctica story. A great deal of all of the UFO stories about there being underground alien ships in Antarctica or an underground civilization in Antarctica, most of that came from Linda Moulton Howe. And she spread that information with the help of, I believe, paid government disinformation agents. One of her sources for all those stories was a fake Navy SEAL. And I can say with an entirely confident voice here that that was a fake Navy SEAL, because in this joke of a documentary about all that Linda Moulton Howe made, she asks her Navy SEAL source what his rank was. And he gave an Army rank, a rank that's not even in the Navy. That, my friends, is an indication that her sources are not who they say they are, and she does not do sufficient vetting, especially to be using anonymous sources. Her anonymous sources, I believe, are fake, fabricated, and or rehearsed actors helping her sell fake stories. That's my opinion. I'm entitled to it, having witnessed her being caught dead to rights using fake sources or sources whose information is completely fake time and time and time again. Now let's continue in our discussion of these disinformation agents with Lou Elizondo, who fits in both camps. Lou Elizondo is, I believe, both a paid government disinformation agent and a UFO profiteering huckster. Lou Elizondo can be verifiably proven gave the New York Times completely false information about his background. Why did he do that? Well, again, one could speculate that the government has employed Mr. Elizondo. Many people believe this. I'm not going to comment on whether I believe that is true. It's enough to comment to say that many people in the UFO community, including some big platforms and voices, have said that Lou Elizondo may be part of a CIA psyop designed to infiltrate and control the narrative of the UFO community. And this has been taking place since at least 2016. Now, well, we can get into specifics, but I think it's enough to say that it can be verifiably proven with overwhelming evidence that verifiably proven with overwhelming evidence that one, Lou Elizondo spread false information into the UFO community through big media contacts like the New York Times. It's also important to note that he was part of TTSA, To the Stars Academy, which I believe was a Ponzi scheme investment scam. They promised their investors they would build a spaceship with a revolutionary power source that would change the world. I've seen Lou Elizondo interviewed 100 times, usually by very fan-based platforms who do nothing more than give him the softball circle jerk interview. You know, I'm fond of that saying. These UFO circle jerkers, nobody asked him, Lou Elizondo, do you think it was morally, ethically, or legally okay that you were part of an organization that was promising investors a spaceship with a revolutionary power source that would change the world, and then you didn't deliver on any of those promises, and now that same organization is trying to solicit more investor money based on new promises, I suppose? Lou Elizondo has admitted that he is a counterintelligence guy. That's what he does. And as far as UFO profiteering huckster, he has been paid by TTSA through investment funds that were largely collected based on false promises they could never deliver on and did never deliver on. He was paid by the History Channel, and we now know that the History Channel was actively spreading disinformation by including him in this production, claiming that he ran ATIP, a top secret government program that we now know never existed and was not funded to the tune of $22 million, as this man claimed. All of this, everything that has come from Lou Elizondo has been disinformation. He's even appeared on national media outlets like Fox News, and he shared information claiming it was recently declassified that actually came from the Sun newspaper, a rag tabloid newspaper. And that information that he shared, it wasn't recently declassified. It was public information as far back as the 50s, I believe, maybe the 60s. Lou Elizondo spreads fake or false information. He is a disinformation agent. And all of you fanboys may hate that I'm saying all of this, and I'm sure that the nameless, faceless Twitter accounts that just signed up for Twitter next week will start harassing me now. I have no reason not to lie. I don't have a financial motive like Lou Elizondo does. And by the way, where is that book he promised everyone? Oh, could it be that he has to wait a while and do the Cosmic Con shuffle because his entire story just came crashing down? He's got to go away for a while before people will forget all the false, fake, and disinformation that he has spread since 2016 and buy his products. That hasn't stopped him from working at UFO conferences and other online UFO conferences. I believe he's appearing in some documentaries. Now, given his government ties and the fact that he was in TTSA with all those other former spooks, it's easy for people to speculate that he is being paid by the CIA or he is some kind of CIA disinformation agent running a psyop. I'm not sure what I believe. Most of me honestly believes that here was a guy that sat at a desk at the Pentagon and was a nobody. And though he tried several times to be a somebody in the form of these get rich quick, he was always starting businesses and they all failed. I think that he saw one of our other contestants tonight, Nick Pope, lying about running a government program for England and getting rich. And he decided if he were to lie, saying that he ran a Pentagon program, he could get rich too. Unfortunately, Mr. Elizondo, for all of his intelligence experience, was not experienced enough in the world of UFOs to realize that some people in the UFO community are excellent researchers. And luckily, friends, some very good researchers, including myself, John Greenwald, now Stephen Greenstreet, and others are on the trail trying to get to the truth behind his disinformation campaign. 1 second, friends. Okay, so we have covered Lou Elizondo and his various fake information enough times. See our previous shows on Lou Elizondo if you want to learn more. Next, we have Nick Pope, who we recently sort of investigated and really went after. Sorry, I'm not sure why that's so small. I thought I saved everything to Max Res. Anyway, Nick Pope is a UFO profiteering huckster. He worked for a time for the Ministry of Defense in the Secretariat pool, which means he was a secretary. He answered the phone, took messages for more important people. But Nick Pope decided that he would lie to everyone and say that he ran the British UFO program for 2 years. Turns out all he did was answer the phone. And we have seen recent examples of big media outlets changing his title from former head of the British UFO program to civil servant. That's because Nick Pope's story of running a British UFO program for years has come crashing down recently, thanks largely in part to the British government being very open with documents and people like Philip Mantle compiling documents written by Nick Pope's own hand where he says, I don't investigate you. We don't investigate UFOs here. Let me forward your information on to the people that do investigate UFOs. That's what he did, friends. He took messages. He answered the phone. Maybe he got tea for all those other British guys. And this is how disinformation spreads. The only reason someone would think that he ran a British UFO program is because he told media outlets he did. None of them vetted him at first, including even outlets such as the New York Post and the Basement Office with Stephen Greenstreet. He sits next to Stephen Greenstreet. He lied to everybody saying that he ran a British UFO program. No, he did not. Now, he's doing the Cosmic Con shuffle, trying to come up with all kinds of excuses, saying that the British government downplayed our investigation and all these other things. No, friends, there are written documents by his own hand which prove that he lied to everyone. He also claimed that he investigated alien abductions for the British government, crop circles, and cattle mutilations. But the British government says they've never investigated those three things. He has been caught lying time and time again and spreading false and fake information. We also get you cannot argue with the evidence that he put himself in a book saying that he was abducted by aliens with his then girlfriend at the time. He even had a hypnotic regression. But then he had to lie about that because when he first came onto the scene, he claimed that he never had a UFO experience. Somehow his own UFO experience ended up in his book, and there is substantial and supportive evidence that the fake name he used in the book was actually referring to him and his story. Fake information, disinformation, and a former government secretary. Could he be a paid government disinformation agent? Stranger things have happened, friends. You decide. Next, we get to my favorite space ranger, Corey Goode. Corey Goode came out of nowhere years ago, maybe 6 years ago now, maybe 7 already. And he has not had a real job ever since. He came out and claimed that he was part of some top secret government program to, and that he time traveled and fought reptilian aliens in space, and that he had superpowers. He was an intuitive empath, and that he time traveled and was age regressed 20 years so that no one would know he was gone. Isn't that convenient? For years now, my friends, Corey Goode has been putting out false information, fake information. He's muddying the waters. This man is single-handedly perhaps responsible for the destruction of serious secret space program research. It is undeniable that the United States government has a secret space program. One can simply look up the X-37B, which spends a year and a half in orbit around Earth, but none of us lowly citizens are allowed to know what they're doing with that space shuttle drone that spends literally years in space. What are they doing with it? We're not allowed to know. So again, when people think that I have my tinfoil hat on too tight talking about the secret space program, I just point to the X-37B and say there is substantial, supportive, overwhelming evidence of a United States secret space program right there. And that's just one data point that I could share. Interesting about Corey Goode is that he basically created a marketing cult around himself, made millions of dollars selling fake, what I believe to be fake, false, and disinformation. And it's interesting also that in 5 to 6 years, or 7 years, maybe even now, he has not provided a single shred of proof for 6 or 7 years worth of his space adventure stories. But that hasn't stopped the gullible people, the people who absolutely want to believe in aliens and all this stuff, from making him a rich, rich man. Some have suggested due to his government ties, he may indeed be a government disinformation agent himself. And I would tend to believe that, considering that he single-handedly made the subject of the secret space program a laughingstock, a joke with his blue chickens and inner Earth people and various other nonsense. And lately, his updates have been getting increasingly more and more ridiculous and stupid. You may remember we did a breaking news report because this disinformation agent said that there are aliens from Venus coming here to bang our old chicks. But they only want to bang the older chicks, these hot Venusian dudes. I don't make this stuff up. I just, talk about it. I didn't make that up. He did. Corey Goode is a disinformation agent for sure. Next, we get to one of my favorite, the world's worst fake psychic, David Wilcock, who verifiably has used 100% fake government insider sources. The best example that comes to mind is his favorite source. He says it's his number one source, a man named Pete Peterson, who by all accounts was a senile old man who claimed that he worked for the government, claimed that he worked for the Russian Space Federation, claimed that he created the world's first alphanumeric keyboard computer, personal computer, and beat Apple to market, and Tandy and Commodore, and all of these other companies, Texas Instruments, and Radio Shack with their line of computers, and more. The problem is that when you start going through Pete Peterson's biography, it becomes abundantly clear that Pete Peterson's entire biography and all of his fantastical claims are 100% fabrications. He did not create a computer and beat all of these other companies to market. His company was laughably called, according to David Wilcock, Cyberdyne, who you may remember from the Terminator movies. Yeah, that's not ridiculous at all. We checked with the Ronald Reagan Library. Mr. Peterson, Pete Peterson, never worked for Ronald Reagan, not while Ronald Reagan was president, not in any of Ronald Reagan's private companies. He never worked for Ronald Reagan. We checked with Russian space historians. This person that David Wilcock claimed was a government insider who claimed that he worked for the Russian Space Federation never worked there. And equally, Pete Peterson claimed that he was such a great scientist that the Russians awarded him the Order of Lenin Award. Friends, there is a list of the Order of Lenin Award, and anyone can go see all the recipients, everyone in history who has ever won the Order of Lenin Award from Russia. David Wilcock's fake source, Pete Peterson, was not on that list. Now, David Wilcock, as well as Kerry Cassidy, has also used other problematic sources, such as a court-martialed child molester telling stories about the secret space program. Or, remember, it is David Wilcock who brought us the biggest secret space program disinformation agent ever, Corey Goode. He was responsible for bringing that guy forward and helping make him famous. David Wilcock's recent updates have become even more laughable than Corey Goode's, I believe, because David Wilcock is most recently claiming to have recently recovered memories that he was molested by satanic reptilian aliens as a child. And they made fun of him because he was so smart. Yeah. David Wilcock's information is laughable at best. And anytime anybody mentions him to me and or starts telling me about some of the things that he talks about and they're serious, like, hey, have you heard David Wilcock said this? I cringe. And I go, really? Are you that stupid to even listen to this man who has made hundreds and thousands of fake psychic predictions claiming to be Earth's greatest prophet? You know, one of these things is not like the other. The image that he portrays to the world is angels are talking to him and telling him that he's Earth's greatest prophet. Meanwhile, all of his prophetic predictions all fail miserably. And I've talked about it before. There's something called the test of a prophet. If even one thing a prophet predicts does not happen, he is not a prophet of God, but rather a prophet of Satan or the devil, who is falsely spreading disinformation. Friends, he's claiming to talk to angelic beings, and that's where he's getting information from. Again, the test of the prophet proves that he's no prophet. And if he is in contact with any non-earthly entities, I believe very, very strongly that those non-human entities are demonic forces masquerading as angelic forces or Christ or, you know, all the things that he talks about. His information, he claims, is always coming from divine God sources, Christ sources, angelic sources, and yet it is always wrong. One of these things is not like the other, friends. And it's very clear, again, that if David Wilcock is in contact with any non-human entities, I believe, again, very strongly, that those are demonic entities tricking him and feeding him false information. Angels don't lie to you. Neither would God if he decided to talk to a human. That's my opinion. David Wilcock is responsible for spreading more garbage, fake information about ancient aliens, UFOs, and other conspiracy topics than virtually anyone else on the planet. David Wilcock is in my opinion, too stupid. He claims he's got 180 IQ, which would, of course, make him smarter than Einstein, Neil deGrasse Tyson, and, every other huge brain. He claims he's smarter than Einstein, but honestly, I believe he's too stupid to be employed by a government agency. Maybe they use him as a useful idiot and they give him fake government insiders like his completely and totally fake, verifiably, provably fake #1 insider, Pete Peterson. I don't know. But people have asked me if I believe he's a paid government disinformation agent. The one thing that makes me believe that he is that he runs an awful lot of, let's just say, questionable financial arrangements with his fans. Things like charities that collect hundreds of thousands of dollars and do no charity work. Things like constant courses, where the last course was verifiably consumer fraud, in my opinion, because he promised that he was going to teach everyone that had $333 the secrets to anti-gravity and free energy. And once you took his course, you'd be able to do it too. Funny, I don't see any of the people that took that course building hover cars and showing them, or free energy devices and showing them. He overpromises and underdelivers. He hypes up everything as this new information is groundbreaking, and I've never talked about this before. This is the mark of a con artist, friend, a grifter. And I don't think anything's going to change. Most recently, he is absolutely ridiculous. He's talking about squirrels out in his backyard doing a nature show. He's talking about aliens butt banging him when he was a child, and this is to not make light of victims of child sexual abuse. But I believe that these stories of his aren't true. He wasn't a victim of any sexual assault or being butt banged by aliens or anybody. It's just some new fake story to sell his stupid following. That's my opinion, and I'm entitled to it. David Wilcock is laughable. His fake information is so easily spottable as fake, and yet the vast majority of people don't look into it. Do you know how many people never looked into Pete Peterson? He just says stuff like, well, my former government whistleblower, Pete Peterson, said. Well, great, but you're quoting information from a guy who lied and lied and lied and lied and lied and lied again in his own online biography. And we could go through, and we have, and picked apart that man's biography. Why is it that you only have to peel one layer of deception with some of these guys? He's going to, and he thinks you're all stupid because he says, Pete Peterson, he gives you the name of his fake source, which you are free to Google and look into his claims, but nobody does it. Nobody but crazy people like me. Or maybe I do it so other people don't have to. In any case, David Wilcock is verifiably a disinformation agent. Now we come to my favorite slime ball, Jimmy Church. Jimmy Church, some would argue, is not a disinformation agent himself, but he is the facilitator. He is the fluffer. Look up fluffer if you don't know what that is. That's Jimmy Church. Jimmy Church, the slime ball, is a fluffer. He is the person that helps all of these disinformation agents, from Linda Moulton Howe to Nick Pope to Lou Elizondo. He's helped all of them. You can do the checkbox with him and see that every single one of these UFO celebrities or personalities that are verifiably spreading fake and false information, all of them get help from this man, Jimmy Church. Now, we could cite more specific examples. Jimmy Church claims that he vets everything on his show 3 times before he'll talk about it. However, David Wilcock was able to run a verifiable GoFundMe scam on his show. And Jimmy Church never apologized to the UFO community, who got scammed by David Wilcock out of $60,000, again, for this Pete Peterson guy, claiming that he was a government insider and the men in black were attacking him. All of that came through on Jimmy Church's show. Never did anything to apologize for that. Later, David Wilcock ran a PayPal donation scam for Emery Smith, also promoted and advertised on Jimmy Church's show. Jimmy Church never apologized for that. It was a verifiable scam. David Wilcock claimed that Emery Smith was under attack by the men in black, and they left a bullet on his counter, and he ended up in the hospital. It turns out that Emery Smith wasn't suffering from a government men in black attack that night. He was suffering from alcohol poisoning. Jimmy Church has helped Linda Moulton Howe recently spread completely and totally fake information about fake alien pictures being real pictures of aliens. He's helped David Wilcock spread false fake information that scammed the UFO community out of over $100,000. Or I don't even want to say helped. He's allowed that to happen on his show and then refused to comment once the overwhelming and verifiable proof that those were scams was available. He has helped Goode spread his fake and false information. He has helped Emery Smith spread his verifiably fake and false information. Nick Pope, Lou Elizondo, and the list goes on and on and on. Jimmy Church loves disinformation agents. He must, because he hosts them time and time and time and time again. And hey, now that Jimmy Church has recently helped Linda Moulton Howe spread fake information about 100% verifiably, provably fake alien pictures being real alien pictures, is he going to apologize to his audience for helping her do that? Is he going to have a come to Jesus moment and apologize for helping spread fake and false information into the UFO community? No, he's going to ignore it. And he's going to move on to the next disinformation agent that he can make a buck off of. He has worked with all these people that are disinformation agents at UFO conferences time and time again. There's Jimmy Church in the midst of all of these provably fake information hucksters. And nobody says anything and nobody cares, but it gets better because now Jimmy Church is training new hucksters for disinformation in the form of Christina Gomez, who has to keep her mouth shut about all of Jimmy Church's, let's just say, past sins. Because if she speaks up and says any of the things I just described are wrong, she will lose her benefits from Jimmy Church, including, I guess, a radio show, all those subscribers that she sucked off of him, and more. So this is how disinformation spreads, and this is how it is able to propagate, because there is a sin of silence among us. I do not suffer from that sin of silence. I will not remain silent while people are spreading fake and false information. I don't remain silent. Some people do. And that sin of silence is just as bad as creating or spreading the fake information. When we see this happen, we should scream it from the rooftops. And these people with their sins of silence, or these UFO profiteering hucksters, should be cut from this thing like a cancer. Why are they still allowed to have no real job and do this for a living, making thousands and thousands of dollars helping spread fake, false disinformation? Why is it permissible? Why are they booked at UFO conferences? Why are they booked for online UFO conferences? Why are they getting paid to be in documentaries? Some of these people are on the take. They all get something for their sin of silence. Moving on, we have TTSA, To the Stars Academy, run by a, some would say, washed up former rock star. Those little teeny bopper 12-year-old girls he used to sell his CDs to, they grew up and they're not interested in buying his garbage music anymore. So he had to do something. He became a UFO profiteer. And he created a group with some group of former CIA spooks and government employees, including Lou Elizondo, and he was going to bring us the truth about UFOs. All they brought us, friends, was verifiably fake and false information. All they brought us was broken promises. They're going to build a revolutionary spaceship with a power source that would change the world. The board at TTSA was filled with former Pentagon people, former CIA people, former Black Project insiders, former so-called government insiders, and more. And they were going to bring us the truth about UFOs. Many believe that this was a part of some government psyop to control the narrative. Your opinion may vary. Let me know what you think in the comments. Was TTSA a CIA or other government agency psyop to control the narrative? Why did they get away with, I believe they got away with scamming investors out of $2 million and not delivering on any of their false, fake promises? And of course, there's Lou Elizondo right in the middle of this disinformation agent convention. And we've got Howe Putoff, Jim Semivan, Christopher Mellon, and more former government people. I'm still not sure what to think of TTSA or why they were allowed to get away with what amounts to a Ponzi scheme, in my view. It gets complicated, though, and that may be why no one was prosecuted for that and never will be. TTSA is right now soliciting for new investors into TTSA, but they've dropped any plans to do anything other than sell books and videos and, entertainment. Great. There's Tom DeLonge and his sister are the two biggest, I would say, benefactors of the TTSA money. Where did it all go? Why is his sister being paid $150,000 a year to be a public relations person when no one will answer my questions? And that's being paid out of investor money, by the way. I say follow the money when it comes to Tom DeLonge. Tom DeLonge is also a believer of sorts. Tom DeLonge believes anything people tell him, and he famously showed everybody videos of a fake TR-3B that could be verifiably proven to be a CGI fake and didn't know the difference. No, this guy doesn't have any real or actionable or good information to share with you. He's got false information, fake information. In other words, Tom DeLonge is a disinformation agent. Here we see To the Stars Academy. This is the spaceship they promised everybody. All those investors invested their hard-earned money saying, we're going to build this spaceship with a revolutionary power source. Then they didn't build anything. Nothing. And they kept all the investor money, and the investors didn't get any money back. Near as I could tell, if you were an investor in TTSA and you made any money, please contact me, because so far I haven't been able to find a single investor in TTSA that made any of their money back. Funny that. Next, we have Dr. Eric W. Davis, who's a PhD in astrophysics. And he loves saying he was a contractor and consultant to the U.S. Air Force Research Laboratory, Department of Defense agencies, Department of Energy, NASA, since 1984. And all of this may be true, but it's important to note that in the late 80s, Eric W. Davis was accused of doing quack science and wasting government's money. He wasted millions of dollars on a paper that he used Barney, the dinosaur, and a picture of a space portal and Einstein in that paper. It was called government waste. His research was called quack research. He loves to involve himself in the UFO community. And his disinformation includes things like the so-called Wilson documents that to everybody but somebody trying to sell you something have been largely disproven as fake. After all, those Wilson documents all originated with Dr. Stephen Greer, who is perhaps the most the disinformation agent that has made the most money out of all these clowns. I don't trust anything coming from a guy who has been lying for 25 years to make money on UFOs. Of course, Admiral Tom Wilson said they were a work of fiction, but people still hold on to it. And Dr. Eric Davis loves the controversy and won't confirm or deny that he wrote those notes. So to UFO believers, his lack of saying they're fake means they're real. No, they're not. And they're all based on a fake NRO document that Stephen Greer showed a admiral in the Navy, which supposedly caused him to go look for the truth about alien crash retrievals and what the government knew about it. But I'm here to tell you that a Navy admiral would have taken one look at the document that Stephen Greer supposedly showed him and knew that it was fake, or he would have it checked through his staff and had been informed that it was fake. Now, Dr. Eric Davis loves to portray himself as somebody that knows about the government and what they know about UFOs. He's also the originator of the disinformation campaign. He said that the government had off-world vehicles in their possession. Where is the proof of that? Only in Dr. Eric W. Davis's imagination. Dr. Eric W. Davis is a disinformation agent. He is also a sometimes government employee and sometimes government contractor. So when it comes to paid government disinformation agents, Dr. Eric W. Davis always stays on my list. Next, we have everybody's favorite UFO clown, Jeremy Corbel, who has spread the Bob Lazar disinformation far and wide, making millions off of his documentary filled with lies, half-truths, fabrications, and garbage fake information. Jeremy Corbel has made millions of dollars pushing fake and false information. Besides Bob Lazar, he was also the perpetrator of what I believe was what I will call the pyramid UFO hoax. You remember where he showed a video and claimed that there were pyramid-shaped spaceships that were swarming a Navy vessel? Turns out that those were drones. Verifiably, those were drones, and the pyramid shape was from the aperture of the night vision. It was a byproduct of the optics involved with recording it. They were not pyramid-shaped. They were not spaceships. They were drones. But he made a lot of money off of that, and he continues to make money pushing fake and false information. Of course, we've got Bob Lazar, who for years, 30 or more years now, has been spreading the fake and false information that he worked at a top secret base where they were back engineering alien spacecraft. Not true, verifiably not true. This man never stepped foot in Area 51. We proved that. People will argue with me. He didn't say he worked at Area 51. He worked at Area S4 on Area 51. No, but he said he flew into Area 51. And the problem is you have to use your real name. The name Bob Lazar did not appear in any of the flight logs of people flying in or out of. It did not appear in any of the check-in or check-out logs at Area 51. And this information was brought to us by a verifiable on-the-record source that was an Area 51 security guard at the time that Bob Lazar claimed to have worked there. Additionally, Bob Lazar lied about being a scientist at Los Alamos. He was never a scientist, and we hear detailed that a fellow researcher got to Bob Lazar's former supervisors at Los Alamos, who all verified that Bob Lazar was not a physicist. He was not a scientist of any type. He was a low-level electronics technician, the kind of guy that would bring you a new keyboard or a new mouse if your mouse broke, or, ran a new internet cable for you in the lab. He was not a scientist. He was never a scientist. In fact, Bob Lazar is a convicted pimp. This is all information that the hucksters making millions pushing Bob Lazar's story conveniently leave out. Remember, we talked about sins of silence. Also included in this disinformation world of UFOs is not only the sin of silence, but the sin of lie by omission. These people push this false information with whatever tiny grain of truth that they can weasel into the story, but they leave out all the information like I'm talking about. All that information is freely available here on my YouTube channel, as well as other places. But Jeremy Corbel, Bob Lazar, and our next contestant on Disinformation Agent Circus, George Knapp, don't want to discuss. They don't want to talk about the fact that we have on the record real verifiable sources that say Bob Lazar never flew into Area 51 at the time he claimed he worked there. They don't want to talk about the fact that we have on the record sources at MIT and Caltech who can verifiably prove that he was never a student at the schools he claimed to have gotten master's degree from. We have on the record sources that can prove there's no master's degrees, which there would have to be. There are no master's thesis, which there would have to be if he got a master's degree. His education is fake. His claims of flying in and out of Area 51 are fake. His claims of being a scientist at Los Alamos are fake. But we're all supposed to believe that he really worked on alien spacecraft. I don't think so. Next, Stephen Greer, the most profitable UFO huckster and disinformation agent of all time. Stephen Greer has made millions of dollars pushing fake and false information, claiming that he's in contact regularly with extraterrestrial entities through his CE5 protocols, which, by the way, his CE5 protocols are nothing more than ripped off portions of transcendental meditation, which is free. You don't have to pay $10 for an app. Transcendental meditation is free. Contact the Society of Transcendental Meditation. They'll send you free books. Just pay for shipping. Dr. Stephen Greer, all of his information is fake or turns out to be fake, in my opinion. Remember, this man ran around pushing a dead baby as an alien for years. And it just so happened that he made a documentary all about that alien baby, right? That what turned out to be a deformed human fetus wasn't an alien. It was a deformed human fetus. But he rushed that documentary into production after raising more than $500,000 in crowd funds to make that documentary. And it just so happened right at the end of the documentary to say further testing is necessary and we'll get the DNA results. Just so happened that he couldn't wait for the DNA results to put it in the documentary to show you that it was just a deformed human fetus and it wasn't an alien like he claimed for all that time. Again, Cosmic Con shuffle, lie by omission, and sin of silence. He knew those DNA results were going to come back human. He's a medical doctor. He's seen deformed fetuses before, at least in medical literature. But Stephen Greer instead chose to disinform the public to profit himself to the tune of millions and millions of dollars. Most recently, his information has become even more laughable than before, because in a recent documentary made by those clowns, Third Phase of Moon, the biggest YouTube UFO hoaxers ever, and him team up to disinform the public, Dr. Stephen Greer claimed that he went on a secret mission with Billy Gibbons, you know, the guy with the beard from ZZ Top. And there they saw top secret military technology derived from alien technology that could cure broken backs, regrow limbs, regress people in age, and more. There is no proof to any of that. That doesn't stop him from talking about it, and it doesn't stop the Third Phase of Moon idiots from putting that in their documentary. Now, people have criticized me because I did originally say I was going to get to Billy Gibbons, and I tried. I verifiably got to his press PR agent, and I verifiably got to his booking agent. Both of them told me that Billy Gibbons was going to comment for me, and they could ask him if he went on a secret mission with Stephen Greer. But despite numerous calls back, I've never gotten an on-the-record comment. Now, some may argue that might mean that Billy Gibbons really did go on a secret mission to an underground base with alien technology. And I say to those people, prove it. Then you get a statement from him saying that Dr. Stephen Greer is not lying and telling the truth. Dr. Stephen Greer also famously claimed that he briefed President Trump and Vice President Pence in the documentary before this latest one. He claimed that. And we've gotten on the record sources from people in both that work for both Donald Trump and Vice President Pence that say they never heard of Dr. Stephen Greer. They never asked Dr. Stephen Greer for any briefing. They never received any briefing. He also famously claimed that he briefed a CIA director, James Woolsey, but it turns out he never briefed anyone. He never briefed the CIA director. That man issued a statement saying that he sat next to him at a social event. He doesn't know what Stephen Greer is talking about. That's false information. That is disinformation. Why do so many people sign up to work with and for disinformation agents? We'll get into that, friends. Next, we have the Third Phase of Moon clowns. They're twins, and they collectively, these two guys have put out more provably, verifiably fake UFO videos on YouTube than anyone else. They have been caught purposefully hoaxing things, and we'll get into more of that. And they are hosting disinformation agents like Dr. Stephen Greer making documentaries with false and fake information. These two are UFO profiteering hucksters that only have disinformation. Their tools are lies, deceptions, sins of silence, and lies by omission. You know what a lie, what's an example of them committing a lie by omission? We here at Truth Seekers showed the proof of them finding a video of space debris, asking the person whose video it was if they could share it, and then they go on their channel and share a video they knew was space debris, and they shared it, put on their best Robert Stack Unsolved Mysteries voice narrating it. What is this? Strange lights in the sky. Could it be an alien spacecraft? Of course, I'm paraphrasing. I believe we could see a portion of the wing of the craft. And we have multiple witnesses to this event. They hype that up as a UFO. A UFO, by definition, is unidentified flying object. Okay? None of this makes any sense. If you know that it's space debris and you sit there and pretend it's a UFO, that's deceptive. In my opinion, it's consumer fraud. It's certainly against YouTube terms of service. You can't deceptively do that and make YouTube ad revenue. But they do. Garbage. They put out garbage information. They are the worst type of UFO grifter. Even bragging once when they came on my channel here that of course they do things like clickbait, because that's how you become successful on YouTube. You have to do that. And of course, they employ other disinformation agents to spread the false information and talking points that they put out, like the fact that they haven't hoaxed or faked anything for 5 years. However, when we investigated them, we caught them faking something in March of 2022. I'm sorry, we caught them faking something in February of 2022. We caught them faking something in March of 2022, April of 2022, and May of 2022. There is at least 4 or 5 examples of them recently faking things. But the people they employ to put out their fake information will defend them and attack anyone who tells you the truth about them. We've got the tall white aliens, right? The tall white aliens were a myth created by this man and his wife. And what can I say, friends? This man is a stolen valor fraud. He claims that he was in the United States Air Force, but when you go to the National Personnel Record Center, there's no record of him ever serving in the Air Force. Claims he was a weather observer for them. And that, my friends, is completely and totally false. We went to the mat proving that his claimed military service was fake. This man, Charles Hall, was never in the Air Force. When I confronted him with that information, he claimed that the United States government wouldn't release his records to me because I didn't have a need to know, and his records were classified. However, friends, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. There is an incredible amount of people repeating stories about tall white aliens, and all of that fake, false information, all of that disinformation, the root of it is this man, Charles Hall, a stolen valor fraud who claims he was in the Air Force when I can verifiably prove he was never in the Air Force, friends. Next, moving right along, we get to one of my favorites, Mikey Hall, who pushes the fake, false idea that Billy Meier talked to aliens. No, friends, those are trash cans. Those are models. And all of Billy Meier's information is garbage. Mikey Horn is his disinformation agent. He spreads the false, fake stories of Billy Meier. And, honestly, go look up Billy Meier videos. The photos are laughable enough, but the videos will really convince you that this is a joke. And Mikey Horn is all chips in on it and spreads an incredible amount of disinformation, including the fact that former NASA employees verify that Billy Meier was really talking to aliens. All of his claims fall apart under scrutiny. Mikey Horn is a paid disinformation agent for the Billy Meier UFO cult. Next we get to Billy Carson, who also worked with Third Phase of Moon. One of the common traits of these disinformation agents is that they like to reinforce each other's bullshit. Billy Carson worked for Third Phase of Moon, pumping that ridiculous, laughable Stephen Greer documentary. And then Third Phase of Moon worked for Billy Carson to help him spread his fake, false documentary full of fake, false information about the so-called Black Knight satellite. Say what you will, the Black Knight satellite, the most famous picture of which was a space blanket. I know people who actually work for NASA. They all told me that's a space blanket. There's nothing to the story. But we looked into the story anyway, and what we found was a bunch of disconnected information that makes no sense, all strewn together to form a fake narrative of some alien satellite in space. Billy Carson, besides the Black Knight satellite, what is his other big claim to fame and things he talks about? The Emerald Tablets of Thoth, which are supposed to be a book from Atlantis, but nobody can prove to me that Atlantis even existed, save for a few scant historical references where somebody mentioned some mythical city that sunk into the ocean. But the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, I believe, are largely a work of fiction, but that hasn't stopped this disinformation agent from profiting from that garbage book for years. I mean, how are you going to run around saying this book is from Atlantis, but offer zero evidence or proof that it actually did? I don't get it. Billy Carson is a disinformation agent. All of his information is garbage. He's a UFO profiteer. He also, like Dr. Stephen Greer, ran a free energy and space agency charity for a while, but he never filed his 990 forms to show everybody how much money he collected and what he spent it on, so they revoked his charity. He was also previously arrested for fraud-related charges in the state of Florida where he lives. I don't believe that Billy Carson is worthy of listening to. Now, in his case, I don't believe that he's a government disinformation agent. I think he's just a UFO profiteering disinformation agent out for himself. Always got some scheme or thing going on. Now he's going to have NFTs and his own cryptocurrency. He's got his own streaming service you can sign up for that's filled with him talking and spreading fake and false information. Yeah, not a fan. And here's what I was talking about. Here is just one UFO conference where all of these disinformation agents, both government-paid disinformation agents and just UFO profiteering hucksters that are disinformation agents out to make a profit, they all work together. That's why there's this sin of silence. You never hear one UFO celebrity talk about what a fraud or talk about the fact that the other UFO celebrity is pushing fake and false information. There's a reason for that. They all work together. They all reinforce each other's garbage, fake information. Next, and finally, we have Richard Doty, who is a verifiable government disinformation agent. The famous Paul Benowitz case. Paul Benowitz in the 1980s was seeing UFOs around his home. He was near Kirkland Air Force Base, where it turns out Kirkland Air Force Base was testing top secret early drone technology. Apparently, the United States government didn't want people to know that what they were seeing in the skies that they were thinking was UFOs were actually top secret drone technology. So they employed Richard Doty to go and convince Benowitz that it was aliens. Regardless of what you may think of Richard Doty verifiably literally drove a man crazy with disinformation. And it's a very sad tale. Richard Doty has also been connected to the Serpo documents. Look it up. It's a great story, which sounds suspiciously just like Close Encounters. It's a story about an alien race that came here and started an exchange program where a bunch of humans would go to their planet and they'd leave a bunch of aliens here. And we'd all learn from each other and I guess get together and sing Kumbaya in a circle when the mission was all done. And these documents began leaking about this so-called Serpo project. And it turns out that some shrewd investigators linked Richard Doty's IP to the person disseminating that fake story. Later, Richard Doty would also be connected in different and various ways to other, I believe, disinformation campaigns from the United States government, including the MJ-12 documents. Say what you will about those documents. I believe that they have been proven to be fake and hoaxes. Richard Doty has been connected to that disinformation. He's also admitted that he literally handed Linda Moulton Howe fake, false information about UFOs and aliens. I'm not quite sure why they would purposefully hand Linda Moulton Howe fake information, but that fake and false information spread like wildfire through the UFO community at the time because Linda Moulton Howe doesn't vet or check anything. She just runs with any good stories about aliens and UFOs she thinks she can make a profit from. Recently, Richard Doty has become an employee on Gaia TV. It's important to note that I have one of my rules in life is that if I want to decide if somebody is credible as an information source, one of the first questions I ask myself is, have they ever appeared on or been paid by Gaia TV? If the answer is yes, their information is garbage. After all, Gaia is a hub of fake, false, and disinformation, including Corey Goode, David Wilcock, Emery Smith, and many, many others. So the fact that Richard Doty is working for them currently is actually kind of confusing to me. He is, after all, a verifiable paid government disinformation agent. Why would somebody who's supposedly interested in the truth employ a man like that? I really don't know. Also important to note that Richard Doty is now, I believe, working as consultants for various television channels and is also speaking at UFO conferences. Why any UFO conference organizer would knowingly hire a known paid government disinformation agent to talk and spread information at UFO conferences, I will never understand. But that's our list, friends. And we have a special surprise here coming up. One moment here. I can't believe it, but I missed one. Or did I? Yeah, we're going to let it go because we did talk about the Cousins brothers and their fake information. And we did talk about people that they employ with their garbage to help them peddle their garbage. I truly don't want to attack other show hosts whenever possible. But there is one clown that literally called me a hoaxer, both verbally and he called me a hoaxer in the text description of one of his videos. And that person works for Third Phase of Moon, the biggest hoaxers out there. And he called me a hoaxer. And there's a reason that he has to do that, because he's trying to deflect and he's trying to explain away why he works for hoaxers himself. And it's kind of funny to me, talks about truthology for ufology, right? But he works for the biggest garbage peddlers in the business. And they get a pass. Why do they get a pass? Because he's profiting from them. You'll also notice a common thread in this thing. All these people are profiting from this disinformation, from this fake information. And there is a saying, you have to clear the wheat from the chaff, right? You have to distinguish between good information sources or good information and bad information. And it's kind of funny to me that, that's a saying, the wheat from the chaff. Remove the wheat from the chaff, I'm sorry, is the saying. And if we look up what that means, the phrase separate wheat from the chaff is a biblical expression that means to judge. A judge will choose the good people and discard the bad people. I think that's what we have to do here. And I'm wondering why all these garbage peddlers are still at it. Why? Joining me to help me separate the wheat from the chaff tonight. And I really have to apologize. We just couldn't get any guests tonight. So we scraped the bottom of the barrel. That's what you do here. If you can't get a good guest, you just bring in tonight's guest. We've got Ron from Cosmic Neighbors. Welcome, Ron.
Hi. You're oh boy. I love you, Stephen. No, you know what? Sorry about that. Do you hear me?
Yeah. Why
Okay.
Why don't you just eat a full meal while you're on my show, Ron?
Dude, I was sitting in the backstage for 95 minutes. So
I told you I didn't know how long it was going to take me to get.
You said coming at 9:30.
Oh, did I?
Anyway, right. It was funny to everybody. Was before I was on the last that one time I was abducted by aliens, the girls, and I was telling them that this weekend on my show I want to do a show about like how the people keep falling for the government lies and all that. And then wouldn't you know, as I open up YouTube later, I see his thumbnail, government lies. So I emailed him and told him I gave him a few choice words like F you and all that stuff like that, but it's true.
He told me how shitty my show was, but he said he would come on anyway. That's what he said.
Exactly. He needs a boost, you know? So Stephen, seriously, you covered everybody like in depth and you know,
and of course there's lots more, but we only have a certain amount of time, so I got the top ones, I think.
No, but I'll tell you this, because you covered that, so like I just want to throw this out there, and like I'm gonna cover this weekend, but like how people, you know what? There's a lot of people that weren't even born yet. In 1997, the New York Times, when they came out with an article called CIA Admits Government Lied About UFO Sightings. This was August 3rd, 1997. Why did they do it? It said the deceptions were made in the 50s and 60s amid a wave of UFO sightings that alarmed the public and officials. They did that because all the sightings were based on fleeting glimpses of U-2 and SR-71 spy planes. Exactly. So because of all the stuff they were testing, they just threw out the lies and everything.
Throughout the aliens,
all the drones, that swarm of UFOs on the ships. Meanwhile, it's when you have anti-drone technology, how do you test that? You need a drone swarm. So you test it that way. But anyway, that's what it's getting at. And the two things is, if you're familiar with Project Mogul, that was when they had all the spy stuff and balloons, and they would just like not only use it for Roswell, which I believe Roswell happened, but that's what they were doing. A lot of these things were, and they would just roll with it. They wouldn't deny it or whatever, but they would like throw out fake stories, put out people like Doty's and all that just to push people. And they're doing it now, and they fight till they're blue in their face. Meanwhile, a lot of them, and it's not knocking anybody that's young, because you want people to come into this, but they're fighting, telling you that you're an idiot. Meanwhile, for decades, this has been going on. It just goes on in cycles. And who's the new face? Elizondo just so happens to be the face now. And that's the man. He's going to save us. Disclosure. No, not going to happen.
Yeah, listen, everybody is welcome here, but I wanted to address this comment. I've never seen them here before. A new user, all new users are welcome. All opinions are welcome, but this is the Orion Lines Russian Malone, who says, Corey Goode and David Wilcock are the closest to the truth out of anyone. If you think you're getting to the truth with the man who's using fake, 100% provably fake government insiders, I don't know what to tell you. And I respect your opinion, but I just like to know, how are you getting to the truth when their sources are verifiably proven fake, have verifiably proven fake biographies? They say they work for the government, they never did, and the list goes on and on and on. I just don't get it. I just don't get it.
Yeah, and the government here's something that spoke volumes. Remember with Corbel, when he had the videos, crappy as they were, but when he was releasing them, and nobody came out. The DOD confirmed, Susan Goff confirmed, yes, the Navy took those videos, but they didn't comment on what was in the videos. Mm-hmm. But this is somebody on deck that that eventually they confirmed in the hearings that they showed the same videos. But they didn't say anything, like nothing to Corbel, anything. I submitted a FOIA request on that, saying, is there an investigation? It came back and said we could not find any records of any investigations. So they allowed that to happen. And they knew, like you said, a tool, what was it? A useful idiot they knew he would, and he has access to the media. Let him go. That's it. And
Yeah,
he'll
let
go
them
out there
spread
and
it. Let
that's
them
it. And
spread
he'll,
it. Yeah.
yeah, and spit in that, oh, these are things off world and out of this world and everything. Meanwhile, they're over there laughing, going, phew, we dodged that bullet. Okay, keep going with the testing like that, you know? That's what I believe. I mean, I'm not saying that there's no alien life. Of course there is. Universe is too big. But like for every other day, you think we got 8,000 UFOs flying around as aliens like coming over here? Like that's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have somebody telling me that I'm not allowed to use. Somebody is messaging me right now saying, listen to this. Obviously, you don't have sense enough to know that you can't rebroadcast Linda Moulton Howe's copyrighted content without permission. So if anybody is out to be paid, it's you. You dreamed up and trumped up this smear campaign to discredit one of the best ever to put forth an honest effort to make sense of the phenomenon. This is what we're fighting here. I caught her dead to rights using 100% provably fake alien photos. That's twice I caught her doing that. But I'm the bad guy here. And by the way, just for the benefit of that person messaging me nasty messages, it's called fair use. Look it up. We educated the public about her using fake pictures. I cited fair use. It's fair use. You know, she can try to falsely copyright claim me, but if she does, I've got lawyer letters standing by.
Yeah, that she has her minions out because last week when you were talking about her, and I think I was driving the Sixth Sense insane when I kept saying giving them updates, right? But I was looking at her stream and how knowing what's going on, how she's going into it, part 2 or 4 or whatever. But then when I heard her explaining, trying to explain, walking it back, and you see the people in the chat going, come on, she's been at this for years. She's really working hard, trying hard to get the like they have their shills. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just insane that you, with how she got exposed by you, by your question with Kurt, like that, and how she was turned into Stuttering John. You think she would just say, like, you know what? Let me be careful here and just do the right thing. She doesn't care. No, she doesn't care. Not at
She's
all.
already made. She already made the money, and
That's it.
she's
And she
done
throws
doing
out
it.
her so-called credentials because she knows her minions are going to back her up, like all these charlatans do. You know, it's a
Yeah.
shame.
Yeah,
And
I just don't. I just, more and more, I'm looking at all of this fakery and fraudery, wondering where, if anywhere, the real information is, and that's the challenge. Separate the wheat from the chaff. There's nothing but garbage here that I see largely. And
here's how I look at it, Stevie, is that like, and not to be like a rain on people's parades and that, but disclosure that's not ever going to come from the government. I don't care how many hearings they have, they're not, because if the smallest things that are redacted for national security, purposes, or for sources and methods that are classified for a shape of something they don't want to show, you really think that they're gonna let us know the whopper of all whoppers and unclassified? That it'll
yeah,
never
right.
be ever,
They won't
ever,
even tell
ever.
us. They won't even tell us what shape the UFOs they're tracking are, and there certainly is government data tracking unidentified flying objects. And
Absolutely.
I don't think we're, this, and there's also this false belief among these believers. For 70 years, the line has always been that the government is covering this up. And suddenly, all these guys come out of the CIA and former TTSA and former Pentagon people and former Lockheed Martin. And suddenly, those government agents that have been covering this up for 70 years, now they're going to tell us the truth. Just get your wallet out, Ron. You got to get your wallet out.
Oh yeah,
And then,
that's all.
and then they'll help us get to the truth.
No, but that's all it is. It's like you'll see Republican, and not to turn a political thing, but I laugh at it when I sit back and I watch Twitter. You'll have the ones that hate Republicans and the ones that hate Democrats. But when one of those come out and say for the UFOs, all of a sudden they love that one. Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So it's hypocritical. It's BS. And you live in your own bubble when you don't want to listen to any kind of reason. And the thing is, you could believe whatever you want. you could believe. But to call all the people idiots and tell them this and that when there's absolutely no proof. And here's the one thing with this guy, with Elizondo, right? Here's something that's always they slap themselves in the face with their own truths, right? So what's their famous thing you see on Twitter when they talk amongst themselves? They say, I can't wait when this all comes out so we could go, I told you so, like, and expose to show that he was right. What are they
But they're
saying?
never right, though. But they're never
No,
right.
no, but by them saying that, they're telling you he hasn't said anything. If we have to wait for it to be true, that means he's not saying anything at all. And that's what they're telling us. You know what I mean? So it's just, I just don't understand that. And he's slick, though, that dude, because after he knows saying a few interviews in a row, well, this is getting tight. Let me switch up a couple of words like that. He'll like scour the internet and see what's being talked about and then throw a buzzword in there. And then that everybody swoons over him, like how quick they want to dox everybody because when you said if you say he doesn't work for ATIP, but then all of a sudden when he got exposed and they threw out that other title that he really had, now they're accepting his new title, not explaining it away.
His first title was the director of ATIP. A director is usually, I mean, I worked in corporate America. The director is the top guy of a program, you know, or a group inside an organization. That's the top guy. Now he is the UAP portfolio manager, former Pentagon UAP portfolio manager, which I challenge anybody, call the Pentagon and ask for the UAP portfolio manager. It's a made up title. It doesn't exist. But all these UFO circle jerkers keep repeating that as if you repeat it enough, it'll make it real, you know?
Exactly. But it's funny how they can switch their allegiances and everything like that. And that just shows you, because look, we all have our biases. You know what I mean? We all have our biases. And, you know, people, like I said, live in their own worlds at times. But geez, man, you have to like just try to listen to reason. And if Occam's razor or reason doesn't work for you, then fine, go ahead. But you know, you don't dox people and do all kind of craziness because some guy with a goatee comes out of nowhere and he just says this and that without zero proof. That's it. He's got it's gospel. He's God. That's it. I don't understand.
I love how the most fervent supporters, even of Lou Elizondo, have really attempted to try to distance themselves lately. I don't know if you've noticed, but it's only the real diehards that are all chips in that have taken that new title and still talking about him as if anything that he says matters. To me, he's a UFO profiteering huckster like all the rest of them, and I predicted that he would become just like the rest of them. He's going to be working UFO conferences, trying to make those UFO dollars, even though he was, I don't understand why he can get hired. First of all, he lied about his government work that didn't exist. He never investigated anything. I challenge anybody to show me one piece of paperwork. If he investigated things for the United States government, there'd be a mountain of it. There is none. There's no paperwork. He didn't investigate anything. Maybe he had an interest and he sat there at the Pentagon doing his real job. And then, you know, occasionally he would try to use the government systems to look things up or whatever. That's not investigating, you know?
And isn't it convenient how, like, oh, God, it just pisses me off because even that Tom Douche dude, like, how when we get the hearings or there's hearings like that, it's just like so corny. How it's convenient, how it's because of our hard work. This is what paid off. Like, just take credit for that. Like, look, the thing is, Elizondo, I give some credit that the UFO is out more and everything because he exposed more meaning of the topic. I'm not saying he brought some proof, but he is part of the conversation, and that did open it up some more. But to claim now that everything that's happening is because of the works of him, and everybody says that. Oh, but it is. They have no proof. They'll play it off like they have a hidden friendship with him, that they know inside information, and they don't.
That
like
he's
that.
spreading. Yeah, he's telling
Ex-
people he was
exactly. The
responsible.
guy, like with the sock accounts and everything, and people do that. You know, how many probably you've seen him having conversations probably with himself on Twitter, and people are
Yeah.
thinking like, "Oh, look at this, look at that," and it's him.
Well, for
You know,
sure, that faceless bureaucrat account would cheer him on when he posted something. His own fake sock puppet account would go like, "Way to go, Lou." That's
how
literally him having
pathetic
a
is that?
conversation.
How
That's
pathetic is
literally
that?
him having a conversation with himself,
And he
reinforcing his own delusions, I
and,
suppose.
and that got exposed too with that because of something with Guantanamo that it
Yeah, he
was
was
a
involved in Guantanamo Bay, but not only was he involved in Guantanamo Bay, he was involved in that section of Guantanamo Bay that got charged with all the human rights violations. So
torture and all that stuff.
part of me, if I don't trust a guy who may have been waterboarding people, to tell me the truth about aliens. Lord Ludicrous Plaid with the kind and generous 4.99 super chat says, well, we want to thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. It is much, much appreciated. And here to thank you is our friend Trixie. Yeah, well, there we go. I think she's more credible than Third Phase of Moon, personally, even though she's a former stripper.
No, she's hot. I like her.
Yeah.
And that's
Well,
a
thank
friend
you.
of yours, right?
Yes, absolutely. And people should look up Intel Lady on YouTube. I got to add her channel to all my video descriptions. She helps us out doing those. We appreciate her helping us to praise the cash, friends. It's amazing to me, Ron, that these people make millions of dollars with lies. And, I'm scraping here trying to make this show work, telling people the truth. And we have facts, we have evidence, we actually investigate things and bring you the truth, or we do our best, but I guess the truth is boring.
You know
Right?
what?
The truth is boring. We need some aliens in this thing, and we need some pictures of aliens, even if they're fake, to make the real money. And we need
It's
some fake UFO videos that we know are space debris. That's what we
look
need.
at. I told the girls earlier today. People preach like about the like. Oh, I'm for the truth. I don't like all like lying and all this. A lot of people don't like the truth. All right. A lot of people don't like the truth. And as hard as the truth can be, no matter what it is, UFOs or any other stuff, people preach a lot of that crap that, like, just be honest with me. And then when you're honest with them, they get bent out of shape. They can't handle it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Well, it's the
Yeah.
same thing here. And but something you said the other night, and it's so true and it's upsetting, is that, like how you're monetized and everything, and I know you bust your butt, and I know what goes into getting shows together and ready. There's a lot of work that goes into it, and
Mhm.
all you have to do is like make a decision and say, you know what, I'm just gonna say I seen purple aliens in a cave and just start this whole new thing, and you'll make it rich. But by telling the truth stuff, it's like who would somebody want to watch a video like a really nice wholesome family that's doing the right thing? No, they rather see somebody getting stomped by 18 people in the head. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? They
Yeah,
watch
it's
that
unfortunate,
video.
but it's true. Yeah.
I know I'm jumping around, but that's what I'm getting at. It's just like they'll listen to that and like that'll pay off lying, and then it just stinks. That's all.
Yeah,
You
well,
know.
I'm trying not to get bitter because, I should make sure that people understand, like, I'm not trying to earn a full-time living here. I'm just trying to make the show self-supporting. In other words, if this computer sitting in front of me were to die tomorrow, I don't want to take my family's money to buy a new computer because I think that money should belong to my children and my wife and, not the show. It's nice but I'm thankful because we do have a lot of kind and generous supporters. Like here, we have John Griffin,
There
4.99
you
super
go.
chat. Thank you for your kindness and generosity and
Thank you,
support.
John.
And so what I do with the money, and it's interesting, somebody attacked me in the comments recently, and I said, I'll show a spreadsheet of every dollar I've gotten here and what I used it for if the UFO profiteers will. Let's see Third Phase of Moon spreadsheet with what they spend their money on that they earn with fake UFO videos. And then
Maybe
I'll show
that's
you, what my money that I earn with real verifiably true information, what I do with that. We use it to support the show. Everything around me was purchased with the kindness and generosity of and support of people. And if something breaks, and inevitably it always does, and we pay for the software here that we use, that monthly software slavery bill and the Google Drive and the Spreaker even, I'm not sure I want to continue. It's a lot of work to continue that audio version, the audio podcast. But I know that it brings people to the YouTube channel. And I've been told by so many different people that drive for a living, they can't get caught watching my videos. But if they get caught listening to an audio podcast when they have an accident or something happens, they're fine. They're not allowed to watch videos. So we largely keep that audio podcast up as a public service, and we have to pay to distribute that, and that, again, the funds go towards that as well.
No, I know. And that's why whenever, if I'm fortunate enough to get monetized, hope it should be soon, probably in a few months, but like look, you're in IT, I'm in IT for 30 years. Like, I'm not doing the show and everything to think that, those rich ones are like those superstar movie stars. It doesn't happen to everybody. There's fortunate people in the world, and some people get really lucky, break some, work hard, and start getting paid. But
some cheat like hell. Let's be honest. Some of these people cheat like hell with fake information to get ahead. They make money.
They do, and they even spike up their accounts with fake subs and all that, and because that gives people advantage. You know how many people look at an account and see 1,000 subs, but somebody has 100,000, they gravitate to the 100,000. That must be better. You know what I mean? They have a lot of subs. I don't even want to get into that crap, but when I do like that, the money's going to go, like when I'm making the dioramas and models, like the whole time I was in the backstage, this is what I was building. I was building a Jeep for the diorama that I'm working on. So this is expensive. It gets expensive. And I mean, I'm not crying broke that the audience should pay for it. But if I ever do get donations or something, that's where it's going, right into the equipment. That's it.
And just so you know, I have put Ron's YouTube channel here in the live chat. It's YouTube.com/C, that stands for channel, /Cosmic Neighbors, or just search Cosmic Neighbors and look for his ugly mug.
There you go. That's the best way.
Channel. And I have also pinned it to the top of the live chat. So if you can't find my message there in the live chat, just go to the top of the live chat, and the link is right there to his channel. We should support people that aren't lying to people. I think, though, Ron, that my ability to have other sources of income and not rely solely on this has allowed me to not fall to this dark side and just start lying to people to get to the money,
I just can't. I'm not good at it. Like, I just can't. Like, I wouldn't be able to, like, I won't be able to sleep. It's just how I've been, I'm sure I was brought up that way. And I'm sorry, I'm over here like this. It's like a mutant mosquito got me, man.
I should mention, too, that Spooky, who helps us with clip production and graphics and various other things, is a contributing producer here, also has their own show with her two friends. And that is That One Time I Was Abducted by Aliens. You should go and subscribe to them as well. We ought to start a network of like people that aren't full of shit. I think we ought to do that. The not so full of shit UFO crowd,
It's the truth. I mean, and those are who you'll draw over to you. And, you're always going to have those bad seeds. I just don't understand, like, the stuff that Corey Goode, dude, that guy says, it's like,
there's a galactic battle going on. Shut up, Ron. There's a galactic battle. There's a galactic battle right now, and it's going on, and they're throwing the bad guys out of the solar system. Okay?
I say this respectfully, man. The people need to watch whoever is his audience and all that, because something has to be a little twisted up here to, like, because it's not that he just says things like, okay, that's plausible, that could happen. He says some far out, like it's active and right now, and with zero proof.
And
they just are all in.
There's a space war going on, and aliens from the planet Venus are coming here to bang our old broads. Okay? We did a breaking news update on the old broad situation. there's aliens, Ron, and they're coming here to bang the cougars on our planet. We got to form a defense force.
No, leave the cougars alone. They're in my range now. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah. And by the way, I am getting that sunroom together, Ron Mason. And so at the cabin, you'll have two choices. You could either sleep in the camping trailer next to the cabin, or if you want to sleep in the cabin, I just put a really decent sofa bed in the sunroom. You just
but wait, where are you in the cabin?
Yeah, but there's not even a
sleep
door.
In the camper then.
There you go. There's not even a door between the sunroom and the rest of the cabin yet. It's just its own room, you know.
Do I need bear spray or anything?
No, we have bear alarms, bear mace, and yeah, you know, since my run-in with the bear one time, we're all prepared now. Mostly though, they go away when you yell at them. So I yell at them, and they go, and I bang pots. I got a pot and a big spoon, and I bang it and yell at them. And then
Just be careful of those mother bears. Be very careful.
I know that's what happened to me. I got between a mother and her baby, and she charged me, and that was a terrifying experience that I don't want to happen again.
Oh God!
You know, but I kind of left it up to a learning experience. I was so stupid that they were getting so close, and they were so docile that I was just taking pictures of them. And then the mama realized that I was right next to her baby. It like came out of the woods right in front of me, and she was back there. She jumped up on her hind legs and started running at me.
No joke, they are.
Booked out of there, man. And luckily, as soon as she got to the baby and realized I left, she was fine, and they walked off. And then we've also got a new one called Limpy. He's an old, big male bear, and he's got a limp. That's how I always know it's him, because he's always limping. And he's been around. He got in my trash cans and whatever, but we generally only see them for a very short time. And then
what are they, black bear?
Black bears, yeah.
Black bears.
Yeah, but that one Limpy is a huge male. That's one of the biggest black bears I've ever seen. He's an old black bear, so you almost like a silverback gorilla or something. He's been around a long time, so he's a big sucker. And you know, I had to talk with my children, and we watched the kids. They got a playground, and I'm right there on top of them in the playground, and they know to go to the cabin when I tell them and close the door. Or what, you know, we only see them for a short time every year, and then they migrate to other areas. So they'll kind of hang around for a few weeks, digging in everybody's trash and trying to get a meal until they exhaust the resources and everybody locks up their trash cans better and they move on. Yeah.
Good.
But you're welcome anytime, but I'll put you to work. If you're there, you're going to do something.
Oh yeah, I don't care.
You can help me collect rocks for my patio, and we'll stream too while we're there. So yeah, we got a new fire pit and some other things.
Yeah, we do soon, because I'm gonna go out and help Anthony from Unidentified S4. I'm gonna go by him.
You guys can both come. I can host you both now that we got a little more room at the cabin. So you guys are both welcome. He was just 10 minutes from my cabin, and I told him he should have stopped by.
He told me about that.
He was right in the Poconos, and he was listening to a local radio station that we have at the cabin that's all about Bigfoot. 24-hour Bigfoot radio.
Oh, wow. That's awesome, though.
Interesting. So my internet has been down for 4 days, and people have said it was a deep state attack to shut me up about these fakers and fraudsters, but I don't know about that.
Did you check your provider to see if there was an outage or anything? Check an outage map?
Well, yeah, nobody was out but me. But the other neighbors were complaining that their internet was spotty and slow and having trouble connecting. It turned out that they had to run the whole line from the pole, like 500 feet, to my house. So guy wasn't happy, you know. But finally,
are you hardwired?
Yes. Here at the house we are, yeah. And most of my computers are hardwired. The Wi-Fi is basically just for the kids and the smart TVs. I don't put anything important on Wi-Fi. But, you know, I don't know. It was I like to joke. I survived 4 days with no internet with 2 children, and all I got was this lousy headache.
Oh, God.
Is it on yet? Is it fixed yet, Daddy?
Oh,
you know,
boy.
And then I don't know what I get in my hotspot, but we blew through it in like 6 hours. I put on the hotspot. They had their phones and their tablets and their TV, and the next thing I knew, it wasn't working anymore. And then I come to find out that we blew through the whole
Bro,
hotspot allowance.
that's a joke with the mobile data like that, because
Yeah.
I turned mine on. I was in a pinch with my laptop, and somebody had to send me a few PDF files. So I said, all right, I connected my laptop to my phone. I did it that way.
The next time you know, the next thing you
1.2
know, you
gigs.
used it. Yeah.
1.2 gigs I use of data.
I think I have 5. They gave me 5. So.
Oh, I think I get 5 or 7, but I mean, just opening my email, doing a couple little browser for 10 minutes, 1.2 gigs of data was used.
Yeah, I mean,
and I
you
was
can
like,
watch a couple of videos and you're done. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just insane. That'll be the next model. One of the companies will come out and do an unlimited. That's it, and then they all have to follow.
Though, there is a way to force your phone to be a hotspot, and they don't know about it. I'll talk to you off air about that. And then there's no limits. But I forgot where I put the. There's a process to doing that, and certain software you have to use both on the PC and the phone, and I couldn't locate it to get through.
Let me know. Yeah,
I hate it not doing shows this week because I'm loaded up, Ron. I've got 4 or 5 more in the till ready to broadcast, but I have absolutely no internet. I was almost going to try it on my phone, but I've never done that. Or my other option was to go to Dunkin' Donuts, but I thought me yelling and screaming about aliens might upset some people in Dunkin' Donuts, so I decided.
Oh my God, that would be great though.
Their Wi-Fi. Yeah, I'm going to do that one day just to do it.
I would love to just see you got to get a second cam just facing to see their expressions.
Yeah. And hey, what are you looking at? I paid for some donuts. I'm using your Wi-Fi. Mine's down,
Oh, when you start going into your rants, I would love to see their face. You goddamn idiots. One quick thing. And because then I got to jump off, and which I'm sure you'll be happy about.
Yeah, we're going to be wrapping things up here. And yes,
I know you killed it, but have you heard about Anjali again? She came in.
I know that I saw another show host interview her at a UFO conference, so she's still around. But
she's doing conferences now.
I don't know that she was speaking there. She was attending at the very least. She went to a UFO conference and somebody interviewed her. I don't know why anybody would interview her after her whole story came crashing down, but it is what it is.
Because they create stars in their own mind. They become starstruck. They feel like they're next to celebrity or something. It has to be something like that.
Well, she did get an awful lot of attention for her story at first before it came crashing down. That mostly it was manufactured, fake.
Yeah,
fake
so
story.
much for love and light until you call her out. Then she turned into the demon, like that. She wasn't so love and light and all that. It's funny how they change so fast.
Yeah,
but anyway, bro.
My last interaction with her was that I said I've never seen aliens unless I was tripping balls on DMT on one of her threads, and she got mad at me. So
you called that right away, though, in the whole thing when it first came out. You called that right away. You called that right away.
I asked her if she was doing any drugs. She said no. Later, we find out she was on 4 different medications, including a sleep medicine, an antipsychotic medicine, a depression medicine,
and she lied. Because when you first had that interview and asked her, you said drugs. She said absolutely none. No, but then all of a sudden, weed oil. Yeah, we did a little. I think she could possibly be one of those other Doty types and all that. I don't know. Who knows? Because they come out of nowhere.
Yeah, former government worker came out of nowhere, started talking about aliens,
Yeah, and they just come out of nowhere. And then, boom, they hit the scene hard with a massive story. And there they go.
And then it falls apart usually, Sometimes it takes longer. I mean, Elizondo started his fairy tales in 2016, and it took years before that fell apart. And it's interesting that many media outlets never corrected the record, and they just left that disinformation out there. And it's a circus of disinformation from him. That he really controlled that narrative, and the major media companies are still calling him the former Pentagon UFO program director and all this stuff. That's verifiably and provably fake. And I love that some of these people were such fervent fans of his that they decided to dox people, attack people, harass people who questioned him. And now it's verifiably, it's verifiable that we were correct in our analysis of him. nobody apologized for doxing me, threatening my family, harassing
Oh, you won't
me.
get one. Don't hold your breath. No.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
All
you
right,
got to
buddy.
bounce on out of here. I'm going to go aggravate myself with a 3D printer because of you later. It's printing stringy now. I changed the temperature settings, the fan speed settings, trying to dial it in. It's not leveling. Now it's stringiness. So I don't know what the problem is. I'm going to bring it to the cabin and I'm going to chain you to it until you get it working. That's my plan.
No, I'll be the first thing I do. Are you sure your temperature's not too high?
I thought it was too low. That's why it was.
What are you? Wait, let me just ask you. The print bed. What do you put the temperature at?
The print bed is at 60, and the other the nozzle I think is at 200.
Well,
change it to
here's the thing:
205.
the filaments have different needs. Like some may need 215. Like I have some that are 215, but the print bed. I leave mine at 65. I put mine at 65, and the nozzle is usually 210 to 215.
I'll try that tonight. And if not, I'm going to chain you to it and beat you until you get it working because this shit is all Ron's fault. What did I tell you, Ron? You got to verify that I'm telling the truth. I told Ron I'd love to get into 3D printing, but I don't want to aggravate myself.
And what did I do? Tell the truth.
I
gave you a 3D
gave me a good 3D printer that didn't aggravate me, but then it wasn't big enough for me, so I had to get a bigger one to aggravate myself.
Wait, you left out an important part. I said, learn this one first, then you could.
But I did. It printed anything. It printed anything I wanted, and then I
used it like twice, and then you said, I got this other one. I gave like that.
I did lend it to my friend.
Don't worry. When I get there, not only will I get it going, I'll show you. So then you can know in the future. Like that. We'll get it going.
I'm going to hold you to that. Thank you for jumping in at the last minute. I should mention that I did have an interview with the Canadian director of MUFON scheduled for Monday. That's going to be rescheduled, and we have some other guests coming up. But Ron was polite enough nice enough to come in and jump in at the last minute because he and I were thinking along the same things. And so was that one time I was abducted by aliens. Other people are starting to talk about this elephant in the room. I'm glad to hear it.
Yep. Big time. All right, buddy. It's my pleasure always. And everybody, thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much. All right. There we have it. So, friends, we're going to wrap things up here. We're just under the 2-hour mark, which I have been saying we'd like to try to get the show down to an hour, but especially with a guest and a presentation, that doesn't really work. But we are going to have more production videos, and I invite you to join me tomorrow where we will be debuting another piece of that larger project, Is This the Face of Bigfoot? This time with Anthony from Unidentified S4, shedding a lot of light on the character that is Todd Standing, the person who claims to have video and pictures of a whole troop of real live Bigfoots, big feet, Sasquatches, however you want to say it, multiple creatures. And we're going to be debuting that tomorrow at, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be in the live chat. Of course, it's pre-recorded and sort of reproduced, but I invite you to join me for that. 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. And also at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll be back. Or maybe I won't, because I think tomorrow night we're going to have a very special guest host. And you guys know what that means. We're going to have a guest host tomorrow night on Truth Seekers, guest hosting the show, and we're going to force truth serum down our guest host's mouth before he hosts the show. So our guest host, instead of lying to people about UFOs and aliens like he has been constantly, is going to be forced to finally tell you the truth. And that's going to be fun. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow night. So that is all I got for you tonight, friends. But I'm going to try to play catch up and may even work this weekend. We may do some weekend shows this weekend to sort of catch up. I hate losing the momentum. We've got shows locked and loaded and ready to go. And I didn't get to do them this week due to internet service outage. Yes, I survived 4 days with no internet other than my phone. Not a phone guy. I'm a desktop computer guy. I hate phones, but Hope that never happens again. I will be investigating the possibility of a purchased mobile hotspot with a lot more data, a prepaid one that I can use in the event of an emergency like that, so that I don't have to take 4 days off. Had I known that I would be forced to take 4 days off, I would have made some plans. But it's okay. I got some things done around the home front here, things done around the cabin. I got some errands run and more. And I've written a lot of things down. For those who don't know, I have to write things down, show subjects, people to investigate, information I find when investigating people. So I did a lot of writing for the show. I never get a chance to just write for the show for 4 days, but I think that was a fruitful experiment that I'm going to try to write for the show more. You may notice that we've become a little less off the cuff and a little bit more, I don't want to say scripted, because I'm not writing scripts. I'm writing bullet points and, things to make sure that I cover, notes. But that has been beneficial to the show, and I'm going to continue that. So that's all we got tonight, friends. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us. I want to thank each and every one of our kind and generous benefactors. For those wondering, there is 2 ways to support the show. The first is to throw money at us. You can use the money button down there, the super chat or super sticker purchase. There's also instructions to send a pledge and kind and generous support of our show through either Cash App or PayPal. The instructions for how to do that are in the description of this video. You can also join us on Patreon. I gotta mention, because of the internet shortage, because of the internet service outage, I did not post the normal monthly show journal for August yet. I'm going to do it tomorrow. It'll be posted on Patreon. So this month you'll get 2 monthly show journals. I apologize for that. I tried several ways of doing it, including I tried recording it on my phone, but it was pretty wonky. I decided to just wait. So Patreon is $1 a month or more if you're feeling generous, and you get all of my music. You get a backstage pass and preview of all of our production videos. In other words, before we put up a video on our YouTube channel, it goes to the Patreon channel, and it also goes to our channel members. So Patreon's $1 a month or more. You can become a channel member. Just hit that join button for $5 a month or more. And with the channel membership, you get a bunch of YouTube benefits, a member badge identifying you as a big supporter of the show, priority, reply to messages, and the private here community of channel members. And we also post all of the Patreon benefits in the community section for our channel members. That's $5 a month. Again, you can throw some money in our hat with one-time pledge. And finally, the other way that you can help us is, of course, what every good YouTuber will tell you. The other way to support us, and it really, really does help just as much as money, is to like, comment, subscribe, and share these videos on your social media. It really does help us rise in the search engines, helps more people find us. And YouTube loves engagement. So drop a comment. What do you think about our disinformation agent list from tonight? I don't know if they're all technically disinformation agents. They're definitely all disinformation peddlers, and I can verifiably prove that with their proven track record of huckstering fake and false information. Let us know what you think in the comments, and that is one way to help us. We love open discussions and dialogues here. We don't have an echo chamber. All opinions are welcome, whether you're a believer, a skeptic, or anywhere in between. You are most welcome here. Finally, I want to make sure that I remind all you people listening in audio podcast land, you're missing half the fun. We love and appreciate all our audio podcast listeners, but we would like for you to do something, and that is to come and join us for the live taping. So if you're listening in audio podcast land, go on over to YouTube. Put Truth Seekers, one word, into the YouTube search bar. And the first thing that pops up will be me, the strange guy with the sunglasses. I'm your host, Stephen Cambion. Once you find our channel here on YouTube, smash the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and you too will know when we're doing a live taping. You hear that we take comments and questions from the live chat. It's an interactive live experience, and we want you people listening in audio podcast land to come on over here to YouTube, our home base, and take part in these live tapings. We've also got a Discord where you can chat with like-minded truth seekers from around the world 24/7, and instructions to do that are in the live chat. So that's all I got for you. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me. I want to thank our kind and generous benefactors, pledgers, super chatters, Cash App pledge senders, our Patreon supporters, our channel members, and all of you supporting the show by liking, commenting, subscribing, and sharing these videos on your social media. It really does help. So until next time, friends, and next time will be 1 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. And we're also doubling up and we're going to have one production video premiere at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time from our Is This the Face of Bigfoot series. And then at 9 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow, we will have a special Truth Seeker show with a very special guest host. You're going to want to be here tomorrow night for some laughs. 9 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow night. Until next time, friends, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you.